thought about teaching science or talking about the science, but I said this is more of a really a celebration of what is happening on the planet, and especially what's happening on the planet in a shift, a completely different shift of the science. The amazing thing that we're going to be looking at today, we're going to be understanding, we're going to get to meet Nassim Haramein in an interview. There's a new science. We have what we call the unified theory of physics. This is a big deal. It's, you know, I mean, this is huge. It should be on every TV station. A unified theory of physics that has been sought. It's the holy grail of science. Historically, what happened? Back, you know, Descartes, and we're gonna take a look at some of this, but I want to kind of get you prepared for some of the things you're going to get to see. We're going to show the abridged version of the science, because I want to do more of the celebration. I want to hear more of what we're going to be doing. But the old science, and I call it old science, had some problems. And some of these basic problems were understanding something that mystical or spiritual people kind of drew to. That's infinity, the concept of infinity. In world of physics, when you came up with infinity, it was called nasty infinities. If you had an infinity in your solution, you freaked out. Matter of fact, you can go on YouTube and see these scientists that are freaking out because they're getting answers in infinity. Like all of us, we can tend to be a little lazy. Scientists the same way. I mean, I went to engineering school, and if they said to me, oh, we have a real simple system. If you go into an isolated system and do your math, you can just kind of disregard everything outside of that, all right? And your math is easier. Oh, sign me up. I want the easy version. I want it, you know, I don't want complication. Well, they made some of these errors. They did what they called isolated systems and looking at the math and structuring the laws of nature. Well, there's nothing in nature that's isolated. I mean, and the next page in the physics book just says no such thing as an isolated system. Just want to be aware of that as we look at this. One of the other things, and we were talking a little bit about infinity, and when I first saw this, because I started studying physics, the regular physics, saying, I wanted to see if this physics can link to some of what I understand spiritually and in my mystical understanding. Are they getting closer? And what I found is that they were having all kinds of problems with their math. And you can go on with the CERN. There's scientists out there that are saying, listen, this isn't working. Our math is not coming out. They couldn't. There's two different kinds of science, relativistic and quantum, and they couldn't get them together. And they were coming up with answers called infinities. And they go, oh my God, this is horrible. We got these infinities for answers, then we can't link anything. You can see this. This is where I was looking on YouTube. And these are like physicists, bright German physicists, and these lady physicists at the CERN saying, the math isn't coming out. Because they made some basic assumptions early that seemed okay at the time, but they left things out. And the gentleman we're going to see, because he didn't assume things, he went back and found where they made the mistakes. Even in basic concepts of dimensions, you know, that a dimension doesn't exist unless it's three-dimensional. Turns out that three-dimensional, that's like a box, and that's where they were doing their math in a box. And there is no box. There is no way to isolate. With the understanding of fractals, and he took and saw how we as finite objects, and he uses a fractal definition of that, can put things in and zoom down to infinity. That each one of us is part of an infinite within ourselves. When I saw this, it just blew my mind. I mean, wow, you know, I mean, one of the wonderful things I hope you get out of here tonight is a lot of aha moments. And you can go on beyond this, and those who want to pursue it further can go to the academyofresidence.org and take a course that is so wonderful. That, and it's for under $400, and you become smarter than a lot of these physicists that are out there now. I'd like to do now is let the people here share what their experience has been. We've invited a lot of people. I'd like to get up to 12, but folks here to come and share from their spiritual tradition. We've got Buddhism, we got Hindus, we got Muslims, we got New Thought, we got Christians, we got Course in Miracles. Folks here that resonate with this physics, that I would like to hear from them. What Nassim got his information from and where he drew his energy from was from nature. So I like to bring up Maxwell Switzer, The Way at the Tao. Tao is a wonderful understanding of nature and how we go, and to have Maxwell come up here and share The Way at the Tao and how the physics brings that together.
Do I need this?
I don't know.
I'm so honored to have been asked to participate tonight. Thank you guys so much for showing up. It's a real honor to be here. There was a lot of things said in here that really spoke to Taoism. So I want to give a brief history of Taoism. Taoism actually traverses the entire history of humanity. We can trace Taoism back 6,000 years before the flood that he speaks about. Or excuse me, about the time of the flood. So, and the Taoists, ancient Taoists, they were very intuitive. They had to go inward to get their information. And Foxi, he started the Bagua. And about 3,000 years later, they did the Tao Te Ching. And that's the most well-known Taoist text today. The first line of the Tao Te Ching says, the Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. Now we all know that. And so how can I look at you, and we're so different, and yet we're one? I mean, this is what he's telling us, that we're all one. And that's just so hard to comprehend, because we think in words, we think in concepts. And so the Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. This is a breakthrough. I mean, imagine that this is now science. Physics now corroborates everything that was said by the mystics for thousands and thousands of years. I mean, it's amazing. And it's just, another thing about Taoism is that it's through the body. I teach Qigong, and Taoism is all about transcendence through the body. And by traversing through the world, we have to make sure that we're keeping our body healthy, We're living longer than ever on this planet. And as Nassim said, we have to, over the next few years, we're going to have to transcend our limitations, or we're going to destroy ourselves. And so I really encourage each of you to go within. Stillness. I mean, that was so profound for me, what he spoke about. I understood that in a whole other way, because in Taoism we talk about the layers, or the veils of perception. We have thinking, feeling, sensing, being, and then non-being. And that all comes through stillness. But we're often so much in thinking, that we don't even address what we're actually feeling. And as long as we resist what we're feeling, it will fight back. And we're wondering why we're getting into so much trouble. Why are we having such a hard time? It's because we're not really accepting what we're feeling. And then we can really welcome what we're feeling, then we can move through the body to what we're sensing, to really own our beingness. And then finally, as fully embodied in our being, then we can finally take a look into non-being. And so thank you so much.
Way of the dial.
One of the most amazing things that's going on the planet right now is I think, is the Course in Miracles. It's transforming many of the churches. They're bringing in a truer teaching from Jesus Christ as it's been progressive. You know, I think I'm going to use the word progressive a lot because things are having to change. Evolution is forcing the change. We are evolving. It's happening. One of the interesting things on Earth Day, we were studying the Course in Miracles, and we're trying to look up, is there anything the Course in Miracles says about, you know, our environment? And we really wasn't anything. A lot. Because if you understand the connectedness of all things, you don't need Earth Day. You're going to react. You're going to be Earth Day. You're going to realize that we're connected. We're all one. It matters. So the teaching in the Course in Miracles is teaching us how to know our oneness with our brother, how to know that. And when you have that, need specific teachings on Earth Day. I'd like to welcome up John Vincent Pelosi, who is not only a Course in Miracles teacher, but also a Quaker. They know a little bit about how the peace within, and have him explain how the Course in Miracles and his understanding relates to our unified theory of physics. Welcome, John.
Good evening, everyone. As a Quaker, George Fox, who founded Quakerism in the 1650s, said that there is that of God in everyone. And that is our primary and principal belief in Quakerism, that there is that of God in everyone. And Quakerism has no dogma, but it does have some testimonies. The first one is simplicity. And in the testimony of simplicity, we look to not complicate things. There's that of God in everyone. It's very simple. You don't need any more than that. The next one is peace. Well, we believe that there needs to be peace within ourselves and without ourselves, within the world. And of course, if you keep things simple, you'll find peace. The next one is integrity. Integrity means you'll be true to yourself. Well, if there is that of God in everyone, there is that of God in you. If there's that of God in you, and that's the simple truth, which brings you peace, then to just live that without any questions or complications gives you that integrity to just be who you are and to recognize that in everyone that you see. The next one is community. And with community, we realize that although we are each individually singular, we are all connected. And in our connectedness, in our community, then we practice our testimonies. We practice our simplicity and our peacefulness and our integrity, and recognizing that there is that of God in everyone in our community, and our community is made up of everyone. And the last one is equality. And so that again just follows the rest, because I am you and you are me and we are all together, and consequently we are all equal, and consequently it matters not if you're short or tall, or skinny or fat, or man or woman, or what race you belong to, or what language you speak, or whatever else you might believe, is all beside the point. We are all equal in God's eye, and we are all together within God. So in terms of the unified theory, there's only one. And it is all unified because there's only one. And so we don't divide, we don't separate. From A Course in Miracles point, it teaches there's only one. It is only oneness, is the only truth, the only reality that there is. When you believe in duality, you're in error thinking. The Course in Miracles teaches there's two ways of thinking, right thinking and error thinking. Right thinking is oneness. Error thinking is duality. So we strive in the Course in Miracles to reach perfect forgiveness. And that means forgiving the duality and releasing the duality and embracing only the oneness, which melds along very nicely with Quakerism. So I can be both a Course in Miracles student and a Quaker because it is all one, and there is that of God in everyone. Thank you.
We have an artist here who has been deeply touched by sacred geometry. He's brought some of his work here for you to take a look at. It's absolutely incredible. It shows much of what we are understanding and teaching about the energy centers, the sacred geometry, and how it works. I'd like to welcome Yuri and have him talk about how his sacred geometry, how it came to him, and how the work of the sacred geometry that Nassim used as a key to figuring out this theory, this unified theory, came to him by studying and understanding sacred geometry.
First of all, I'd like to honor this space and time. I'd like to welcome and thank you, Jeff, for this opportunity. I wasn't even planning on talking. I was just going to spin on art, but I've been so inspired by the people that have been up here and by the ones that are left to come up. And it is a privilege and honor. I'm speechless. The energy that vibrates in this room is really amazing. Jeff and I met in West Palm Beach about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, at one of my shows, and I was actually having a kind of a sad day because for an artist, it's not if you sell the art, it's for recognition of they like your art, you know, and everybody has different tastes. But the reason why I started this unique art was I wanted, my slogan is bringing consciousness through art. That's something that came out 4 o'clock in the morning one day, and that's how it got started. That day, I saw him walking in with Sonia. And he had this big tetrahedron thing, a huge thing there. And immediately we connected. I mean, then he went through my art and saw everything. And then we started talking, and that's how connection started. Speaking of connections, it is so obvious that we're all so connected. It is being shown everywhere in every movie. If you watch the movie Crash years ago, as everyone, towards the end, you see how everyone was connected to each other. Every event, every action had a reaction and it had a cause, and it would affect people all across the world. It was amazing. There was another TV show called Touch, on the network. And that was about a little kid who didn't speak, and all he did was write numbers. And those numbers connected with the grid of the planet, and it actually talked to other children to try to make sure that everybody's on the planet were in the right path for their evolution. I mean, the information is out there. The information is available to all of us. We just have to have our eyes open and our hearts open in order for us to see this kind of information. So we started talking, and we've been corresponding back and forth, and he told me about the Renaissance Project, which immediately I connected, and I'm about to share my story. So thank you. What happened was, as I started to doing my art, it was photography at first and then acrylics. I kept getting this image, which is the Sri Lanka mandala, and in my head I didn't know what it was. I kept getting all these triangles and stars, and I didn't know what it was. So I was so curious, and I started manifesting, started researching, and then I created a demo paper first, and then I did it in the computer, and I did it in three-dimensional, and then I found out that it was sacred geometry, and it talked about all the rest of the different shapes that correspond, that make all the stuff, including tetrahedron and everything else. And I was so blessed to receive that information in my pineal gland, in my third eye. And I was so inspired by it that I started doing some research, and I'm still learning. I mean, Jeff is one of my teachers that we have yet to communicating and keep learning everything that we've achieved so far. But the best way of expression, the best way of sharing our knowledge and our love is through expressing what you feel. And the way I express my passion is through my art, is through my actions, is through the love that I share with everyone. I'm actually very blessed to see familiar faces that are here and some that are new, and it's a blessing for me to be here. People talk about connections and how we are all in oneness, and that all paths leads to one, and that is actually true. I grew up Catholic, then charismatic, then at some point I just lost faith in any of that stuff. And then I took a little bit from Buddhism, a little bit from Judaism, and I grabbed things from all these belief systems that actually put it all together in one. And all it was is different roads that led to one end, to one final source. So whatever your path is, just embrace it, share it, don't block it, just allow everyone to be. Beingness is something that is so needed right now. We are in a world, in the material world, that we are so busy in doing. We're doing things to become or have a final result or something. And we're forgetting of being. If you just be, you can receive all the information that is meant for you, all the information that is there for you to embrace and share. And speaking of forgiveness, we all make mistakes. We learn from our mistakes. We learn from our wrongdoings, recognizing them, and moving on and asking for forgiveness, first for yourself and then for others, and making things right, and allowing love to flow from your hearts is the best way to actually be in this world. We all have to be in alignment, just like alignments for the circles to match, alignments for everything there to be, for alignments on our chakras to function and work properly, for everything to flow. We need to remember this, and that's how I'm going to end up. For you to actually to be able, for the order of the universe to really be in one single unified consciousness, you need to have order, balance. You need to have harmony. And in order for everything to flow, your actions, your words, your thoughts have to be in alignment from your mind, from your heart, from your soul, and finally from your actions. Thank you very much. Namaste.
There's obviously been a consciousness of separation that we all have been in and been affected by as we work through forgiveness, but we have to remember that when we arrived here, there was a consciousness of separation. We are here, our souls have come at this moment in time to come together with this message, to heal ourselves, to heal each other, and to come together in this wonderful message we're hearing today. This was the art. And one form of art, there's another wonderful form of art, and that's the art of music, to share that oneness. And I had no better person that has taken that message and touched my heart deeply than Reverend Elaine Silver, whose music shows how we are inspired through music to our oneness. Reverend Elaine?
It's called Divine Emotion. So if you want to get comfortable in your seat and close your eyes, or not, you can do that and take a nice deep breath. My heart is open, my thoughts can heal, divine emotion is what I feel. I hear the beating of the sacred drum, pulsing, repeating, my will be done. I live with wonder on this planet Earth. The spell I'm under is the universe. I trust the union of the heart and mind. Holy communion in space and time. I live with wonder on this planet Earth. The spell I'm under is the universe. My heart is open, my thoughts can heal, divine emotion is what I feel. You come back to the room. There's so many.
This is an amazing woman, made this all possible, her belief in this. She made a transformation. Now, we started talking about the unified theory of physics, and her ability to go through the changes. She's absolutely, Jamar, having her is the greatest gift. He made this whole thing possible, and I want her to share her experience and being in the process. Margarita, the one that made it possible, come up here and share with everybody what happened to you with the unified theory of physics.
Jeff came in one day and told me about the theory, and for 20 years I've always heard that we are a collective, and I really never understood why, and when he explained me the unified theory, it just all finally clicked, and it totally made sense for the first time in 20 years. So now I understand how we are all connected and we're all the collective. What's it?
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, we have we have all these different wonderful spiritual traditions. We have the Muslims with the Sufi. We have Halima, who is a master teacher, healer in the tradition of Sufis. And she's going to share, I just want really quickly, it's amazing. I get to, up in Ithaca, New York at the Foundation of Light, we do Sufi-inspired dancing, which is like spiritual square dancing. And it's so cool. And they do chanting, different things. But that's sort of the layman's things the Sufis have given to us up there. And here she is, Halima.
We have a tradition in the Sufi way, Assalamu alaikum, which means, Salam alaikum, you can say wa alaikum wa salam. May peace and blessings be upon you and upon your family. And, it's really an honor to be here. I met Jeff just recently in the last couple of weeks through a connection. They wanted to have somebody who's a Sufi to represent this organization and this union. And it was really funny because there's many different aspects of Sufism. There's many different orders in the Sufi path. One of them is the whirling dervishes, which I have to admit, forgive me, I'm not. We whirl in our hearts, and it comes from a healing pathway that I come from. And what I really love is the union. That's really what it's all about. It's all about the path of the heart. And you all touched on it in a very, very beautiful way. And it really is about the purification of the heart. Allowing all the wounds and all those places where we think we are separate, which, now seems so beautifully illustrated, and so did you, and so did you, and so did you. And what I love about it is the embodiment, which you also shared, about all of that connected. And it comes from here. It comes from the heart through that beautiful song of the divine self within, encompassing. We have a saying in Sufism, is that God is closer than your jugular vein. So it's right here. And there is nothing else but God, La ilaha illallah. So all of this comes together, and the Tao also, I'm a medical Qigong practitioner, so the embodiment of the mind, body, and soul and spirit all together to be, like the whirling dervishes as well as in Taoism, the vortex. And that vortex comes from above, from God, and it rains down, and you so beautifully said it about the invisible aspects. We call them divine qualities, and there's 99 names of God. Love, and peace, and mercy, and justice, and freedom. And it's a vortex that goes in and in and in its embodiment inside. So you radiate that as a natural state of being. And that's what we're all meant. It's not rocket science. We're all part of that. That is who we are. And somebody else mentioned about unveil. Oh, you did, about the veils. Somebody mentioned, you did, about the veils. In Sufism, there are 70,000 veils, they say, between you and God. And like he also said, by design, and I think you did too, that if those 70,000 veils were removed at one time, we'd be obliterated. There'd be no reason for us to be there. So they're there by design, and they get more subtle and more subtle and more subtle. And this pathway helps to clean those layers. With forgiveness, returning everything to God. In Sufism, we're born perfect and whole. Just like he said, we're all born perfect and whole. And it is that returning to those places where we made a mistake, a place we missed the mark. Just like John said with the Course of Miracles, my husband studies that also. So I've got all of this inside, and the artist, and painting, and all kinds of things, because it is all one. And the music, I love to sing and chant, because this is a representation. I am no different than anybody else. And it's a very simple thing. The heart turns towards God or away from God. Mm-hmm. And the place we've missed that mark is the place we kept our eye off of God. And all you have to do is bow your head, breathe in, and beloved Lord, I ask for your forgiveness, the place that I missed the mark, where I took my eye off of you. Please help and heal and move me in the place that you want, that you will for me. This is what Nassim is actually saying, to learn how to be in communion with nature, so all of it is embodied, and we radiate that. One by one by one, which is what this organization seems to be about. And we all have this inside. So I also invite you to take a deep breath in. Allow yourselves to feel your feet and be grounded in this knowing. This knowing in your heart, in your soul, in your spirit, that we are one. It's a beautiful, out of the 99 names, there is a beautiful name in Arabic, very similar to Aramaic, what Jesus used, is As-Salam. Means the peace and safety and security, very similar to Shalom. So I invite you, if you're willing, to breathe in and breathe out. Letting everything else go from the day, everything else, just being here, feeling your feet on the ground, feeling your buttocks on the chair, breathing in and out, filling your belly up, and exhaling. And I invite you, if it feels right, you can put your hand right on your heart, because the connection to the Spirit tends to, as I was taught in my tradition, is the right hand's connected to the spiritual heart. So putting your right hand on your heart. And also, as Nassim said, bowing this. This is great. This has great knowledge. But when it comes from here, it comes from a different place. That inner knowing that knows no time and space. And this is where it all comes from. So from that place, I invite you to breathe in and repeat after me, if it feels right, right into your heart. As-Salam. Well, we do it all together. Breathe in. As-Salam. 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 Allowing that to penetrate, that peace and safety is inside you. And we're all connected to it, whether we recognize it or not. That is the connection we all have, and with nature, with ourselves. as we see the Creator in each other's eyes. I thank you.
Jeff mentioned that I'm also director now of the Institute for an Open Society in the Middle East. This is an organization that is advocating strongly for democracy, human rights, and women's rights in the Middle East. The Grand Honorary Chairman is His Imperial Majesty Prince Reza Pahlavi, the son of the Shah. And we're having regular meetings with the idea of things that can be done, hopefully, to change the drastic situation that we're seeing, what's going on in the Middle East today. I lived overseas, by the way, 18 years, including in Iran and Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and so on. So I have a feel for what's going on in the areas and the tragedies that are going on as well. In any case, Jeff, I think what you're doing and what I see here, and the mathematics is, when I go back to my former, the scientist associate that I mentioned previously, when I think back on many of the hours that I spent with him in discussing the unified theory type of thoughts, this really brings me back to some joyous moments I spent with him, and unfortunately passed away about 1.5 years ago. So I miss him. And I think the world is going to miss the talent that he had in terms of looking at not only the physics and the religious aspects, but the unifying of all that into the natural healing that we're also interested in. And in fact, the reason I hope we didn't interrupt you earlier when we came in a little bit late, but we've been involved at Hippocrates tonight for a meeting where we're looking at being able to get involved in some more natural treatments that typically are not necessarily allowed in the United States, and we'll be doing some of that outside the U.S. So Jeff, thank you very much.
Thank you. You know, we've been seeing a huge movement towards holistic healing. Now we have the trunk. Unified theory of physics is the trunk of our understanding. There's good science out there, good science. I mean, it just could not be accepted because it was floating out there because the old physics model couldn't attach to it. They couldn't see it, and now we have at the very center where our spirituality, where our wonderful new science that are emerging, our holistic thinking can all attach to this wonderful, amazing theory of the unification of science and physics. This is a group, the Baha'i. They have put together one of the most amazing, progressive understandings of a religion I've seen. Their model is going to be part of the future. It is progressive, it's changing. I think a lot of what happened was the fact that religions would not change. They were stuck in thinking, and that's why even back then scientists had to say, hey, we can't deal with you. We want to evolve. We need to be learning here. We can't be stuck. Well, here's a church, a religion that is progressive in its thinking, and I just love the model that they have. Actually, I see so much potential for what they're saying and with the science, because they like to believe in using science as part of their religion, part of their spirituality, and part of the evolution that we're in the process. I'd like to welcome up our speaker, Dr. John Mike, who's going to talk about the Baha'i religion and how the science here is going to help impact our future evolution.
I don't know about all that, but
We'll see.
I think for my life, it's, we all have our lives are journeys, and mine's been a journey of probably a lot of questions. I was raised Catholic, like you've heard several of our speakers raised Catholic. And at a young age, I started questioning a lot of things which wasn't really tolerated well in Sunday school, and got kicked out a few times. But anyway, I came to this idea of, if a child's born in China, and he's a good child, he's a Buddhist, and he loves God, and and he listens to his parents, and he's obedient, and then he dies, he's not given heaven because he didn't know Jesus. That didn't make a lot of sense to me, you know. So I just kept asking a lot of questions, and in my college years came across Buddhism. I thought, this is really a beautiful faith, you know. Listen. So I'd spend my my spring breaks going to these ashrams and meditating, you know. So I became a vegetarian. And my dad says, you know, what are you doing? He had a meat business. So that what they do. But I was doing really well in school, and he says, look, he's doing great in school, just let him do whatever he wants, you know. So I ended up going to medical school and studied pediatrics, neurology, and internal medicine, studied psychiatry. So I'm a forensic psychiatrist. I work with the mentally ill who've committed a crime, get involved with the legal system, and we stabilize them to go through trial. And then they might be found not guilty of reason of insanity, then they send them back for long-term care. But I married, my wife's also a psychiatrist, you know, so what do two psychiatrists do for a honeymoon? We go to an Anthony Robbins seminar, Date with Destiny, right? So there, at this seminar, I met a Baha'i for the first time, and I studied comparative religion and philosophy in college. I never heard of the Baha'i faith. And, you know, the world centers in Israel. I says, there's a world religion based in Israel, another one? Come on, you know. You know, God really has a sense of humor, if that was true. So I studied this Baha'i faith, and there's so many writings. Baha'u'llah, like so many of the messengers of God, like Jesus, they're tortured. He spent his whole life in prison. But he wrote over 100 books. Sort of an upgrade of God's message to humanity. So as a scientist asking a lot of questions, it answered all my questions. Oh my God, there's no way a human being could have written this writing back 170 years ago in the Middle East, another messenger in the Middle East. They tend to come in the darkest places on the planet. You know, we see how dark it is this time. Can you imagine 170 years ago how much more violence and stuff was going on at the time? So anyway, so combining that with what we just saw and the things that Baha'u'llah talked about, he says now's the time for humanity to really unite. He said things like, we must begin to see the world as one country and all of humanity its citizens. He said, we must see all of humanity as one soul. And then he talked in depth about the soul. What is the soul? And the science behind the soul. Now, in medicine, I was taught about the brain and all these things that we do as an advanced species, our thinking, our ability to reflect, our imagination, all these things are part of the brain. He says, no, that's part of the soul. So like, okay, so if this is Baha'u'llah and he's saying this and you believe these writings, then how is this? How do you put this together? So I started asking a lot more questions about how does this work? And then you hear God's omnipotent. He's everywhere. He's always present. He knows our thoughts. I'm like, well, okay. So if God really knows all of that, how is that possible? So it started me thinking about, there must be a model, just like there's a model for the universe, there must be a model for us. What makes us up, right? So then, Baha'u'llah said the soul is reflected in the heart. It's not in the heart. You can rip the heart apart. You'll never find the soul. It's like a reflection in a mirror. You can rip the mirror apart. You never find the reflection there. He goes, the soul's reflected in the heart. Okay? And it has all these qualities. And all the qualities that we give to the mind, he actually gives to the soul. So I said, okay, let's put this model together. Let's take the human experience. We have near-death experiences. We have out-of-body experiences. And how do we explain that? How do we explain a person who's in a trauma, unconscious, leaves their body, can describe the environment of all the doctors and nurses around them, what's said, what they see. Now their brain and their eyes and their ears are on the table, but they're up here describing everything that's happened and they're unconscious. So how does that occur? How did this person see and hear and have this conscious experience that they remembered, yet their brain is out, you know? And same thing with people who've had these experiences while they're in comas, you know? So then, okay, so the soul's real, and the soul has those capacities, all those capacities. So then what's consciousness? Where's consciousness? So if we look at our lungs, right, we take a deep breath in, right, and then we exhale. That's not our air. Air's all around us, right? It's all around us, but we bring it in. Our lungs are the organ to bring air into the body. So what if consciousness is all around us, just like he said. Everything is full. This is full. The consciousness is here, not here. And we've been given a gift. God said he created man in his image. He gave us this gift called the soul to take in this consciousness, so now we can use it for self-reflection, imagination, creation, creating all these advanced things that humanity has done. So it's not the brain at all, but the soul that took in the consciousness that's all around us, where the other animals live in it, but they don't have that capacity for self-reflection and transcendence of this physical world. We can create a submarine and go into a place that we can't stay underwater for more than a minute. But if we create this machine, we can live down there for a long period of time, or fly. One would have the ability to fly. So we've created transcendence through the powers of the soul. So now evolution, thinking about evolution, we evolved physically. There's no question about it that humanity, all the animals evolved physically, but then something happened. We became transcendent. And you can't get that through physical evolution. It can only take you so far. But then we're given the soul. Now the soul can help our bodies and our minds evolve transcendently. So it becomes more and more common. So it's a cyclic process. We have this physical evolution and now transcendent evolution with the soul that we've been given. So Baha'u'llah's words of that, this is all one soul. Our souls are all connected. It's in the same consciousness. So the consciousness isn't here, it's out there. And when we realize that, we realize we're all one in this consciousness. How could we hurt another? How could we hurt our brother or our sister? How could we oppress anyone when we realize the oneness of what we are? So that just gives you a brief understanding of combining the Baha'i writings with my understanding of psychiatry and psychology. And I just, as you've seen, if you could just take a look at those writings and it'll just enhance your thinking process. Baha'u'llah said, when a messenger of God comes into this world, every atom on the planet vibrates at a higher level. It just takes us to this next level of vibration. And in the Baha'i faith, it's all about unity. That all the messengers of God are connected. There's only one religion of God. When you look at all this divisions, well, how could this be one religion of God? He says humanity has taken the message, misunderstood it, and divided us. But if you look at really what the message is, the spiritual part of the message, it's all connected. It's a continuous message from God. And the last thing I'll say is this social part of the message that the messenger brings. Jesus Christ talked about personal salvation. Muhammad expanded it to the nation state. Nations must become spiritual. That's why religion and their leaders are so entwined. And Baha'u'llah expanded to the world. Now's the time that we become united as one race, on one planet, under one God. We realize that, then we'll truly evolve to this most mature state, the 1,000 years of peace that Christ talked about, the golden years of humanity. We're getting there. We're going through adolescence. It's crazy right now, but we're getting there. Thank you very much.
The next person to speak is from the Hindu, representing the group. I have a deep connection with, I am now just understanding, with Swami Satchidananda. As a young man, I was at Woodstock. Yeah. Also a part of my awakening. Minding my own business, hanging out with my buddy, my higher power or beings took me physically, because I wasn't doing this. I was just on my way, walking with my buddy, basically picked me up, threw me over this little fence and said, run in that direction. And I didn't even know what I was running to. When I opened my eyes, there was Swami Satchidananda with his arms wide open, and we hugged. My higher power said, this is a guy you need to learn from. Talking about a being that can raise your consciousness. He's changed my life, and he's even going to be doing even more. We have wonderful people here that have brought beautiful books, gifts, sharing this wonderful wisdom, so be sure to value yourself with that. I hope I get his last name. Sandish Diana? Okay, not bad. from Miami, came all the way up here to share with you the Hindu tradition and how it relates to our wonderful newfound science of unification.
The real meaning of Hinduism is undoism. That's what it really means.
Is what?
Undo. Undo. Become nothing. See, actually we talk of science, atom. You know, atom is in everything. If somebody says, what is God? Call it atom. Atom and atom so similar. So they say, even we notice in Bible, they were smart to choose atom because it represents an atom. So we are actually the one. Okay? But now we talk about so many things of oneness and everything, but we really don't understand. Everything has an atom, but at the same time, two snowflakes are not the same. Two grains of sand are not the same. So the oneness is there, but each and everything also is not the same. So we have to enjoy the best of both worlds. Now suppose if I take this big white piece of cardboard, what can I do with it? Nothing. I cut the same white piece of cardboard into 52 pieces of white cardboards. Can I do anything with it? Nothing. But on those 52 pieces of cardboard, I put Queen of Hearts, King of Spades, 2, 3. Now I have 52 cards. So in the 52 cards, I can play the game of life. Similarity is the one big cardboard. That is for my peace, my bliss. But the cards are for my fun. Duality is not actually a punishment. Duality is for your play. Reality is for your pleasure. If you know how to do this, you will know how to live correctly. For example, if I ask you a question, there are wrinkles in a shirt. When you iron the shirt, where do the wrinkles go? There are waves in an ocean. What happens on a calm day? Where do the waves go? So, if we realize that all this illusion is actually created for a fun. God wanted to have fun, so He gave us amnesia of forgetting the truth. When we are seeking the truth, which is so stupid, because see, here they put aside truth and self. As long as there is a self, you will never find the truth. When self dissipates, can you even sleep at night when there is a self? If you are somebody, you cannot sleep. If you become a nobody, sleep happens. You cannot sleep. Sleep is a byproduct when you are a nobody. In this world, they talk so much on meditation. I'm telling you the truth. 99.999% of this whole world doesn't meditate, they vegetate. Because how do you know you're meditating? If you're aware you're meditating, you're not meditating. It's like you're trying to be in deep sleep. If you're aware of deep sleep, you never slept. The byproduct of deep sleep is freshness. The byproduct of deep meditation is realizing the truth. So until you haven't understood who am I, you have not done anything in this world. We talk of it. Now, what is the whole purpose? I give a lot of books free because it's the greatest pleasure of my life. You know why? I give books free to confuse you even more. All of you are talking so much things, 3.5 hours I'm enjoying. I'm saying all these people spend 3.5 hours to get even more confused. Because if you are looking for information from outside to realize the truth, it's like drinking salt water. It will only make you more thirsty. It will take you from one question to another question to another question. It will not satisfy your true thirst. True thirst can only be done when you drink the real sweet water which is within you. When these thoughts come to you, not in thoughts also, not even in words, when it's beyond words, beyond experience, it is. When the answers come to you from within, then you will truly understand what is happening. All of you all spoke and I was enjoying, saying, looking at a blind person looking at an elephant. One is touching and sees a tail, oh, it's a rope. One touches the front of the trunk and so that's a trunk. You know, one sees a tree stump. So we're looking at the elephant being blind. Each one touching different parts of the elephant and saying, oh, the ears are a fan. So we're not understanding the fact. What is the truth? Truth is so simple. It cannot be really explained. But what is the best way to explain? I am that. Everything is that. And that's it. So simple. But now how can you get the truth? First, the self. You see, the self is the whole problem. Once the self goes, you realize, who am I? Once you realize who am I, only then the truth happens. And when truth happens, you are in the absolute. Everybody says it's such a hard thing, the ego self, the lower self, how can it go? I say, guys, it's much easier to lose the self and realize the truth. The hard part is when you're in the absolute, how to come back to this asylum. Leaving the world is easy. Coming back to this asylum is the hardest part. There's all crazy people around you. Who don't know what is happening, who have so many ways of explaining the truth and nobody's even understood. It's like explaining your sugar and you haven't tasted it. It's impossible. And I give credit to all the masters. I think the masters are the most crazy people. See, the person who doesn't understand the truth, they're living in a fantasy. But the one who has understood the truth has the things that he's smart enough to come and explain to you guys. That is more stupid. You guys don't have to worry. All the great sages and saints are the most stupid people. Because they really think they can explain in words what cannot be explained. It's like explaining to a child, why was he created? So you are trying to learn this world from this finite mind, the infinite. So you all talk of the infinite. The infinite is in space, infinite within you, you can't figure out. You're worrying about the space. You're trying to discover the world, discover yourself. We're using science. Science is such a simple thing. If somebody asks to scientists, how did the world happen who don't believe in God? They say, well, it just happened. So one day there was a master who saw a picture of a painting and went to a scientist of a globe. And he says, this painting, who did make it? Oh, so and so made it. So he said, you mean a painting has to be done of a globe by somebody and this whole universe can happen on its own? So you think it happened on its own without a creator, and you think a painting cannot happen without a creator? That is our problem. We are trying to use the mind aspect to understand not that something that's beyond our mind. So now what is the reason why people haven't understood the truth? You have ran from religion to religion, place to place, city to city, read everything, because you still are not ready to let go of the self. You want to experience spirituality through the self. What is spirituality? Actually, you're a spirit. That's spirituality. And there's nothing else. But through this infinite, and this minute mind, you're trying to get the infinite. Because we are not ready to let the ego. Ego. You see, the E has to go. Otherwise, you will not get it. Yes. So what is the now? Comes the best part of life. When you are fed up of this world, you're fed up running from one place to another place, from one religion to another religion, from one master to another master, from science to spirituality. Everything is like walking a slippery slope of ice. You'll go through 3 stages, feel little nice feeling of meditation and feel the bliss, and again it goes down. Because you haven't understood the most important aspect. You're seeking happiness. As long as you're seeking happiness, you'll be sad. Because happiness is part of duality. It is easy to be happy. That's why it's so easy to be sad. It's easy to get peace and bliss, which is more work. So therefore you also lose your peace and bliss. But once you get the truth it is. There's no duality to it. Truth is our birthright. Somebody says, I have to put effort to get the truth. Truth is a natural state. My guru's name is called Sat Chit Ananda. Sat means truth. Chit means a pure wisdom. And the byproduct of that is bliss, by the way. So Anandam, the bliss, is actually going economy class when Sat is first class. So first class is truth, Chit is wisdom, is business class, and Anandam is a byproduct of that. And the byproduct of Anandam, the bliss, is happiness, which is, forget about it. We don't even look into happiness. And everybody wants happiness. So you want such a low aim in life. So when truth is, wisdom comes. So you have a choice to be in life, wise or otherwise, you choose. It is so simple. And Hinduism is not really a religion. If somebody told you it is, it's wrong. It is actually, even I think the word Hinduism is like a byproduct. Means you are actually taking Hinduism as an identity. Like layers of an onion. You try to peel each layer. So by adding a religion to you is actually an identity to you. One more layer you just added. Undo all the layers, every layer, till nothingness happens. That is your natural state. Nor you, nor God. no present, no past, no science, no history, no geography, nothing. In the pure nothingness, you will see the truth. And you know what will you see the truth? How can you see the truth if there is nothingness? The mind cannot see the truth because the mind cannot exist. The real you, the true you, the big I, not the lower I, the big I awakens. And that is the truth. I am that. I hope you'll all get it in this lifetime. Then you will really enjoy it. Until there's like, BC AD, I call it BRAR. Before realization, after realization. Rest is all a waste of time.
I'd like to welcome a dear friend and amazing woman, the Reverend Marcia McLean.
Well, what's interesting is I wasn't sure exactly what I would be saying, and one of the things I do when I'm sitting waiting for my opportunity to come up here, wherever here happens to be, is I close my eyes and I just say, use me. And so the topic, they kept rolling through, kept changing every time somebody else shared. It's just been such a magnificent banquet of wisdom this evening. So I decided that what I really wanted to do was share a little bit about our practice that is unique to the science of mind and spirit. It was founded by Ernest Holmes in 1926. He was a voracious reader daily of Emerson and also a big fan of Sri Aurobindo. He combined his curiosity about the new thought interpretations of the New Testament with his fascination with the East and so much more. And those early understandings in the 20s of the new science, they used to call it the ether. Remember that? So we've had the privilege throughout the years of studying something and practicing it that teaches that it is done unto us as we believe. And now to be able to go to Barnes & Noble or go watch What the Bleep Do We Know or so many other things. I'm learning how to say Nassim Harriman. Did I get it? Okay. So we have access to these resources. We can go buy a copy of the Nag Hammadi library, So what I love is that there's this ancient teaching that says it is done unto you as you believe. And then we have quantum physics, which is saying that we have this thing called the observer effect. And whatever we measure for is what we get. It's the same thing. Now, I have to tell you, I was not stellar in mathematics. I'm the one who carried on in the social sciences. So I also come from a feeling place. And I've had to learn throughout my life to be able to articulate what I'm so excited about. I was the youngest of 4. I had to learn how to, first of all, raise my hand to get floor time, and second of all, to be very concise before the opportunity passed. So what I do now is I teach people that it is done unto them as they believe. And I teach classes. We're in the middle of a class right now that's on the history of the New Thought movement, going all the way back to ancient Egypt and touching on Lao Tzu and just all kinds of stuff, and it's really exciting. And we're reading Emerson, which is a real mind bender. We're reading Thomas Troward. Anybody know about Troward? Oh my goodness, do it. He was a judge in Punjab, India, and studied metaphysics and wrote about it. It's fantastic material. So what I'd like to do with you right now is just share something that is unique to our teaching. It is how we pray. Because we believe that if it is done unto us as we believe, that it's important to watch our language, our thoughts, our feelings, our words, our actions. We believe that the creative process begins with the word in mind, in logos, and that we participate in it, and that our knowing that and understanding it allows us to do so consciously, intentionally, purposefully. Whereas, when we don't know that, we feel as if life is happening to us rather than through us. And then we spend all of our time pushing against and fighting about whose fault it is. So what we do is a 5-step affirmative prayer. This is what's unique to my teaching and what I'm licensed to teach. My husband Rick also is a licensed practitioner, and Elaine is very practiced in this as well. And what it does is it involves us personally in that creative process to a specific end, acknowledging that we're really participating in it all the time. So there are 5 steps. The first one says God is all there is. And use whatever term, whatever denotation feels right and comfortable for each and every one of us. Centers for Spiritual Living, Science of Mind honors all paths to God. That's why I was so enjoying this evening. The second step says that we are one with it. So if you are, we call it treatment, spiritual mind treatment. Sounds like something that would require a skull cap and wiring. The second step says we are one with it. Okay? So the third step is where we insert this thing called an affirmation or a realization statement. And in that place is where we declare what we are ready to know and to experience. Now, why would we do that? Well, it has so much more power than simply reading affirmations, which we're so accustomed to doing and very often getting kickback from our consciousness about. So first we have God is all there is. Second, we have and we are one with God. Then third, we say our affirmation. Fourth, we get into gratitude. We give thanks. We recognize that it is already done. We celebrate as if it is already done. That puts us in a vibrational acceptability, receptivity, a state of receptivity with our desired outcome. And then we let it go. That's one of the holiest acts there is to let go. So what I'm going to do, am I your last presenter?
Yes, you go as long as you want.
Oh, good. Well, no, because it's funny, I had this inclination to open us with a prayer. And so what I'd like to do is just trust that the perfect words come to do a closing prayer. Is that all right? Okay, excellent. Okay, so I invite you to just take a moment and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. As I share with you a prayer of unity, just wrapping all of this goodness into a beautiful package. I speak my word in grateful recognition of the presence of God, Spirit, Creator, the I Am Principle, the all that is. For I know that it is all that there is. I know that it is infinite intelligence and boundless overflowing love, perfect pure spiritual substance and immutable power. And I know that the truth of who we all are is that we are God in form. We are spirit made manifest, heaven on earth and stardust animated. I recognize, therefore, that the infinite intelligence, that boundless overflowing love, that perfect pure spiritual substance and immutable power is the truth of who we are. And because this is so, there is nothing else that we can be or do or have or experience but this good. And because this is so, I know that our minds are one with divine mind, that our hearts are one with the heart of all love, that our bodies and the bodies of our affairs are one with the body of God, and that our lives are one with the one life. And because this is so, I know that we are blessed. I recognize that we have spent this time together this evening, basking in this knowingness, recognizing this oneness, embracing it, opening to it in greater and greater ways, and I know that what that leads to is a greater manifestation and demonstration here on earth of these truths. In gratitude for this, I simply release my word. I know it is already done. I know the gift has already been given. And together, in agreement, as we open our eyes, we say, and so it is. That's what I do.
Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. Nothing you can say that can't be sung. Nothing you can do, but you can learn how to play the game. It's easy.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
There's nothing you can make that can't be made.
Others like that.
Nothing you can say that can't be saved. Nothing you can do, but you can learn how to feel inside. It's easy. All you need is love. Da, 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 da. All you need is love. Da, 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 da. All you need is love. Love.
Einstein worked to his deathbed, trying to bring together this understanding. He didn't buy that, what their physics was saying, that, it's just some random playing dice. Now, does everybody have your picture of Einstein with the tongue? We're going to do a little celebration. Now, we've come to this theory of unification. We have arrived at this place. Now, we are spiritual people. We could never say, "We told you so, we told you so." But we are going to share Einstein's opinion here. In honor. He was right. Einstein stuck to it, and he... Here we go, ready? Here's what we say, because we've come to unification, and everybody give your tongue out. The Einstein tongue. All right. God bless Einstein. He stuck to it. Nissim Harriman has now finished the work of Einstein.